Hey everyone, and welcome back to Ho Chi Minh City. If you missed my last 2 episodes, I'll leave them in the description. If you've been following me for a while, you probably know how much I love exploring markets. So today, I was planning an epic market hopping adventure, ending my day with a visit to the War Remnants Museum. First up was Saigon Square.
So much for washing my hair today after the gym, because it's soaking wet down my back.
Known as a shopping paradise, Saigon Square is a hotspot for both locals and tourists.
So arrived at Saigon Square, this is a huge shopping destination.
It's packed with knockoffs and low-cost brand items from names like Zara, Mango, Gap, and Calvin Klein. Many local shop owners actually stock up here to resell their own stores.
So this is crazy. It's pretty tight in here and there's just a lot to see.
There are 2 Saigon Square locations in the city, one in District 1 and the other in District 3. I chose the District 1 location for its central vibe and lively energy.
So tons of knockoffs in here, and it's really hard to move in here. There's just so much to see. There's clothing galore, like everything you can think of. There's coffee, there's sunglasses, there's hats. And there's a second floor.
Next, I wandered into Saigon Center, conveniently located just across the street from Saigon Square. This mall has a more conventional shopping vibe, with regular stores you'd find anywhere else. I took a quick look around, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for, so I moved on. Then it was time to explore Central Market. I'd passed by this spot a few times and was curious to see what it had offered.
Now I've been waiting to see that look in your eyes. I've been hoping for a love like you.
I could have taken that way down too.
Central Market is a unique mix of underground commercial space, pop-up shops, and local designers. While some items felt a bit pricey, the vibe was undeniably charming.
So lots of little vendors down here in Central Market. So everything down here seems to be very trendy.
The market also has a food court styled like a nostalgic Asian street food scene, serving dishes from Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and even Japan. Unfortunately, by the time I got there, many stalls were out of food. So heads up, get there early if you want to try the best bites. Then the iconic Ben Thanh Market.
So it's another day here in Ho Chi Minh City, and I am going to check out the market today.
This is the spot for souvenirs, food, and history. It's not just a market, it's a symbol of Ho Chi Minh City itself.
Okay, so far walking into this market is a lot more refreshing than going to Saigon Square, which was so overwhelming and so narrow, and it just seemed like everything was kind of thrown at you.
Operating since the 17th century, the market was formally established by the French colonial powers and rebuilt several times over the years.
Oh wow, look how beautiful these dresses are. These right here. Really beautiful. The one thing in Vietnam is the tailoring, and I know that you can have dresses custom done for yourself at a really inexpensive rate.
The current building, with its iconic bell tower, dates back to 1912 and has been lovingly preserved ever since. Inside, you'll find 4 main gates, each offering different specialties. The southern gate is a treasure trove of clothing, shoes, and accessories. The northern gate, you'll find fresh produce and food vendors serving Vietnamese classics. The eastern gate features dried goods, spices, and coffee. And the western gate is where you'll find arts, ceramics, and more. Or you can just be like me and just wander around and not actually know which gate you're at. By the day, the market bustles with shoppers, but by night, it transforms into a vibrant street market, complete with food stalls and sit-down restaurants.
Wow, huge bags of cashews and pistachios. So saying that it's hot in here is an understatement. There's limited fans and you can see how tight it is in here, and there's a lot of people. So this is all material that you can buy for them to design you something. So many amazing materials. As it says on there, make a dress in one day. Amazing. So about to go into the War Remnants Museum. Now I was going to bring the big camera to film better inside instead of the GoPro, but after reading the reviews and seeing how heavy the museum is, I also read it's, a bit one-sided. Even reading yesterday some of the political history, it's a very different story if you come from the United States. But interesting, of course, to hear the Vietnamese side and what it is that they believe in their history. So very fascinating to me. But I do know in the museum it's very heavy. It's not for children, just FYI. So if you are coming with your kids, I don't recommend the museum because they do show very, very graphic things inside. In fact, I'm not even sure that I'm gonna handle it real well. So I'm gonna take some videos, some pictures, but honestly, I don't think I'll be filming a lot of it because it is just really, really heavy and really unfortunate. You know, no one benefits from war. So, but you know, glad to take in some history. So it was 40 dong to get in, 80 if you want the Audible headset to listen to, and it's cash only, just FYI. Wow, you know, I've seen pictures of these helicopters and what it looked like during the Vietnam War, but to see one of the American Army helicopters like this close up, first of all, it's ginormous, really, really big. I didn't realize too it had all these windows right here. But even just the span of the propellers, I mean, just huge. Definitely amazing to see close up. I think too, what's really interesting is out front here, these are all American aircraft and yeah, just in tanks and stuff like that. I haven't seen anything that's Vietnamese so far. I did hear that the museum is very well documented, and you know, just seeing all of the artillery and the American aircraft and the tanks, you know, I have to say, wow, there's a lot to see here for sure. Is it disturbing? Of course. Like I said, anything with war is disturbing, especially if you don't come from it. You know, I've never been in the military. I don't come from a military family, and I've never been around war. So, you know, I feel for anyone, you know, even just what's going on in the Middle East right now, in Ukraine and Russia, for anyone dealing with war, you know, seeing this it's gut-wrenching for sure, to know that human beings have done this. Something else to know about the museum is that it's all open. So, and there is no AC. So, just the FYI. Okay, so in 1954 at the Geneva Conference is when actual France, they withdrew from Indochina, which is what I believe they called this whole area. And Vietnam has temporarily now been split into two halves. I have to check because I've seen now the Indochina, and if somebody wants to correct me. But I believe the Indochina, though, is also, it's the Communist Party is what it stands for. And it says, though, in this, that the United States declined to sign the Geneva Agreement, subsequently taking over France's role in the region. So that's kind of what happened. The division of Vietnam lasted until it was reunified in 1975. So once Vietnam was able to get out from under France, the United States took over southern Vietnam, and that's how this whole thing started. So yeah, I believe that I'm right. The Indochina was the Communist Party, and that was what was going on in the north. And one thing to note that at this convention in 1954, so it wasn't only just Vietnam and the United States involved, it was also people who attended. It was the United Kingdom, France, the Soviet Union, Laos, Cambodia, and really they were there addressing the Korean War. And so that's kind of how this all started. So yeah, pretty interesting. So America officially enters into what they call the Resistance War. They call it the Resistance War against America was from 1954 until 1975. So this part they talk about is really true. In America, it was the largest peace movement in American history. American people engaged in political action over a 10-year period to force the United States to withdraw its troops and end the war. Millions of young men refused or evaded military conscription to avoid serving in the American war, because really it wasn't an American war, and we should have never been involved. Starting in 1968, active duty soldiers and veterans led every major anti-war demonstration from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. So, very true. So many Americans believe that we did not belong in this war. And, you know, if you visit Washington, D.C. in the United States, if you see that wall in Washington, D.C. and see how many Americans lost their lives, for what? So they show all these perspectives, you know, whether it's from Europe or Oceania, of, you know, showing U.S. get out of Asia now. So here it actually talks about how the mutual cooperation of Vietnam and the United States, how they got together because after the war there was toxic chemicals, there were unexploded bombs, landmines, and they had to clean all this up. And there was just a lot of destruction. They needed to revive the country. So it's kind of great to see the support of the countries coming together to do so. So they talk about the losses due to the war in northern Vietnam. So in terms of human lives, 200,000 dead and injured, 70,000 orphans. Most economic institutions were destroyed. 100% of the power plants were destroyed. Thousand spans of dams and dikes. 6 railway lines. 66 out of 70 state-owned farms were destroyed. 40,000 cattle. 6 major cities under attack. 28 out of 30 towns, 96 out of 116 districts, 300 hospitals, 10 among which wholly destroyed. Again, it's all disturbing. So because of the war, after the war, there were 42,135 people killed by bombs or explosives and this is from 1975 to 2002, and then 62,143 people wounded by bombs or explosives. So this talks about Agent Orange effects, which is chemical warfare. I really had to walk in and out of there. So just finished visiting the museum. Saying it was disturbing is putting it mildly. It's definitely taken from one side for sure, but I think everyone should still come see it because it's interesting to hear different perspectives on different things, and it's history. And it's also something that we can all always learn something about and take a note from so these things don't happen again.
I had such an amazing time visiting the city of Ho Chi Minh City. Make sure that you're subscribed because next I head north in Vietnam to Nha Trang. See you next time.